good, YouTube? It's your boy, One Killer Cat, back at it again with another video. Let's get it. Y'all don't know already? You tuned in to Red Key TV, man. And if this is your first time to the channel, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on this video if I help you with anything. All right, so we're gonna get right into the video. Y'all see my baby Candy behind me with all the lights turned on and everything. Y'all know how I love lights. So we're gonna be going over the Ghozt controller, the app, and the actual the box. All right, because I have my Ghozt controllers in the car currently. They're down here. I'm gonna clean all of that type of stuff up. I was in a little bit of a rush, not a rush when I put it in, but after working so long, you put them in, you just you get tired. I recommend not rushing on anything down that line. Like, I got some good information of where to put them now, so I'm gonna put them in the front bumper, and I'm gonna take this bumper off and get them installed down here in the actual bumper of the car. But yeah, y'all know what time it is. We're gonna get right into this video. I'm gonna show you how to use the app, how to do the controls and everything, the difference between RGB, RGBW, how to set it up in the app, all that type of things, whether you know if it's flow series or not. Like, I got all the information for you, right? Let's get it. All right, guys, so let's see if we can get this to focus. So with this, this is going to be your Ghozt controller, so that's what we're going to start with. So with the Ghozt controller, you have your incoming power. So you have a power, a ground, then a ground and a power down here at the bottom. Then you have your input 1, input 2, input 3, and input 4. Input 1 is your brake light. So if you're hooking up brake lights to this, that's what input 1 is for. Input 2 is your actual DRL. So that's how you get the DRL function to go. You have one wire that goes to your DRL setting on your car, whether you got a Dodge Charger, Challenger, or any other car that you're putting this on. If you have a DRL setting, then that's what you're going to hook that wire to. You can even set it to cut on with your lights. So say you have a wire that turns your lights on, and that's what you want to turn in your DRL. Say your car didn't come with factory DRLs, but you have the new headlights you're putting in the DRL setting. Input 2 is where you would hook that wire to get that factory DRL setting that you install into your car. So once it cuts on, once the lights cut on, your DRLs will cut on. All right, that's what input 2 is for. Input 3 and 4 are your left and right turn signal. Now, don't get me to lying about which one is actually left and which one's actually right, because it doesn't really matter. Inside of the app, you can flip it. So I will show you that later on. So just be paying attention when I'm in the actual app showing you the connections, because you'll actually be able to change whether you want input 1, whether you want input 3 and input 4 to be your left and turn signal. So if you wire them up to the wrong ones, you can tell the app that you want this light to cut on when this turn signal cuts on, and this light to cut on with this actual signal. All right, so after that, you have your PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 inputs. This is what you get on the Pro. That's why I have a light, and this is the only difference between the light and the Pro right here, is these last 4 connection spots. These last 4 connection spots are to hook up, like, say I have my demon eyes, and instead of having my demon eyes get power at a different point, I can hook my demon eye, the power up to here, and have the actual Ghozt controller, when it cuts on, tell the app to tell my demon eyes to cut on. So it's basically like an on and off switch. You can tell it to pulse. So basically, if you have a light that doesn't need a controller but you wanted to cut it on, this is where you would hook that up at the PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 slots. That is what's on the Pro. Now, the good thing about the new Ghozt lighting controllers, these blue Ghozt controllers, is that these parts and these parts both come with the screw-in type. So before, you used to have solder points on the other side. Now you don't have the solder points, you have the actual screw-in type. So if one of these come out, you can take what is called a tweaker, little bitty Phillips head screwdriver, or a little flathead screwdriver. Flatheads are in here, and you can open that slot up and reinsert that wire. Before, if it broke, you had to go get it resoldered, and that was going to be a pain in the butt. So I do like how they redid the connection points, so that if you do end up losing one of these wires, that you can easily get it back in. Now, with that being said, you have on this side, you have a ground, which is your white, green, which is your data, and V, which is your voltage. All right, so you need what you're going to see back here. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but right there you have a D right there, and really you're seeing the D because underneath this connection point it says ground. It says GND, so the D is for ground. Then you have the T1 and T2. That T1 and T2, that is your actual data signal. So that's what's actually telling your lights to change the different colors. And then V is for your voltage. That's the actual power. So that's basically the hot that's going to power your lights. So you have a ground and a hot, and you have a data signal. So you need to make sure that these are hooked up the correct way, because when it comes through these connection points, you need to make sure that they're going to your lights the correct way. All right, so just make sure that you have it wired up the correct way. Your ground is white, your data is green, and your voltage is red, and that's the way you hook it up there. So that's the actual Ghozt controller. So you have incoming power, and mind you, on the incoming power side you have two spots where you can power this thing up at, right? So the Ghozt controller can take two sets of incoming power at the same time, because the last 4 slots are where it's going to get set up from the second incoming power. So just mind you that the Ghozt controller can take 2 sets of power, and generally those last 4 slots I want to say are 12-volt power sources. So just, you know, make sure that whatever you have that you're powering back there, that it has its own regulator if it's not supposed to be 12 volts. The incoming power for your lights, for your Ghozt controller, is it will take either 5 volts or 12 volts. It doesn't matter to it. So just make sure that if you're hooking up a Ghozt controller, that you know what you're powering. So if you're trying to do your headlights, those are 5 volts. Headlights, 5 volts. My hellcat symbol, it's 5 volts. Those lights around the engine bay, those are 5 volts. My underglow, it is 12 volts. So that comes without a regulator. So let's look right quick inside of the car. As y'all can see, Red Key TV. If you made it this far on the channel, man, make sure you subscribe, man. You'll do a lot for me, okay? Make sure you're subscribing to my channel. Hit a like on this video if you're already at this point. Now let's get back to it. So this right here is a regulator. And what it does is it takes incoming power, because right here your battery's putting out 12 volts. So it takes that 12 volts when it goes into this regulator, and it changes it down to 5 volts so that it can power the lights. So it regulates your power from 12 volts to 5 volts. So if you're hooking up underglow, you don't need a regulator, because you're coming in 12 volts, you're going to the underglow as 12 volts. So my underglow is on over there. I have it all the way around the car, engine bay and everything. So underglow is all the way. Of course it's bright outside, but you can still see them. So underglow is 12 volts, and the actual headlights, those are 5 volts. The strips are 5 volts. And I also want to say my wheel lights, I don't have them currently cut on, but my wheel lights in there, I want to say that those are 5 volts as well. So you need to know what you have, and so that you have it hooked up the correct way, because if you hook up a 12 volt source to 5 volt your equipment, you will blow them out. So just be mindful so that you don't mess up your equipment and have to send it back or ask for new ones or pay for new ones. All right, now let's get into this app. All right, now mind you, I only have 2 hands, and one is holding this phone and one, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna take this off the stand. All right, y'all, so first thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna open your Ghozt controller app. So as you can see, I have my blue Ghozt app down here at the bottom. We're gonna go ahead and click on it. Now it's gonna go ahead and ask you to pair to your controllers. Now since my controllers are already paired to this, they would show up here unnamed, and you would click on them one by one, and you would put in your security code. Now when you first connect your blue Ghozt controller, you have 60 seconds from when you actually connect power to go ahead and Bluetooth to it and connect. That way you can change, you can be connected to it, and then you can change your lights. Then from then on, when you set your security code, it's going to ask anybody, as long as it's had power the entire time, it's going to ask anybody, hey, what's the security code to get in there? That way I can't just go in to a car meet, look at a Bluetooth item, hit it, and then start changing their lights at like a car meet and everything online. It's going to ask for their security code. So that's what's going to happen when you're first setting it up. They'll show up here. They'll have like this crazy number. You find yours, connect to it. You can go in and rename it. You can set up the settings and everything in it, but that's the way that you'll have to connect to it. So if you set it up, if you connected the power and for some reason your lights aren't working, you can't get into it, disconnect the power for about a minute or so, then reconnect the power and go ahead and Bluetooth to it within the first 60 seconds. All right. So once you've selected your DRLs or underglow, whatever you're running your blue Ghozt controller on, and you've paired to them, you have to hit this home button. So you hit the home button and boom, my screen comes up. Now I have my red lights on. We can go ahead and cut the red lights off. So we went ahead and cut the lights off. I still have another app open where my other lights that are not Flow series are working through. That's the reason why those didn't cut off. So from here, you can set up right here at the top. This is letting you link all the controllers together to have them cut on at the exact same time. You can tell it that you want to be individual. So I have 2 different Ghozt controllers in there. So I decided right now at the bottom, you have focus, and it says DRL and hood vent. So if I wanted to change that to a different color, now my one Ghozt controller is telling it to be the underglow is red, and my hood, which has my vents up there, and my DRLs are green. So you can tell it to go back and sync together, and then if I hit green now, boom, everything connects to green. So I have my preset settings. So in here you can come to the bottom and you can hit this plus sign, right, and it's going to automatically come up on popcorn. So these right here are all your little preset settings. Basically you can go and pick one. Let's see, let's go all the way to the bottom. Let's see, what is power surge. Let's go there. All right, so power surge, say I want it to do that, and I only want it to do what it's currently doing in red and blue. Say I wanted to make this my new police setting. So you have to come here, you delete, there we go, delete. All right, so that one right there, it would just be red, right? That's all that's gonna flicker from when it comes up to from that white setting, because it's doing a surge with the white, and then it's only surging red lights. So say I wanted to make it blue as well. So you hit the plus sign right here, and then over here, you actually tell it what color you want it to be. So I want it to be blue. So now it's surging red and blue. You have in this setting, this is how bright you want the lights to be, so you can dim them out. Like if that blue right there, you see how it's dimming out? I can make that blue brighter. Like I can tell it I want it at its brightest setting, or I want it to be dim. You can do that both with the red. You can click on that red and you can dim it down, or you can pick it up. Most people have their lights set as bright as possible. I have one of mine set to where it's not as bright as possible, just to not try to burn out the LEDs that I have. So with that being said, after that, you can name that whatever you want. You just go in and you name it. So, and then you hit done, and then you hit the home screen. The home screen is going to take you right back. Go back to the bottom. I basically just added in that new show, and it's the power surge with my red and blue. So I can delete that because I'm not going to use that. I have one of those already. So anytime you cut your lights on, you hit one of these. Now, mind you, with this, the only thing that will take over a command that you have told for it to do is your turn signals. If I hit my turn signals, they're gonna do whatever I set my turn signals to do. So I have it at red right now. And then where are my keys? They're in my pocket. Get these keys out. Say I want my, like when I unlock my car, my turn signals cut on. And then when I lock it. So anytime my turn signals cut on, it's gonna take over what's commanded from the app, and it's gonna do what I told my turn signals to do, because your turn signals are more primary than any setting that you have. So with that being said, if you're trying to do daytime running lights, but you have something commanded, like I told my car when it starts up to do the rainbow road in. Well, if I have something commanded for it to do, it will not do that. Just so you know, that is what you have commanded it primarily to do in the app. It won't do the daytime running lights because you've already told it to do something else. Now, if I have everything off and then I crank my car, it will do my daytime running lights by normal default, because by default that's what it wants to do. But if I have told the app to do something else, it will continue to do that. The only thing that it will do something different is your turn signals. All right, so that's how you link your Ghozt controllers and you play with the app. Now you have all different settings that you can do in here, where it's a bunch of stuff. You just name them whatever you want. I have a bunch of things in mine. I love my police settings. I have 2 different police settings. So you can just play with it however you see fit and set it up. There's so many possibilities and so many things that you can do with the with this Ghozt lighting controller. It is by far one of my favorite adds to the car. So, all right, so we're gonna leave it on Starfall for right now. We're gonna go elsewhere. So now, mind you, real quick, with this is how you select back and forth. At the bottom, you just hit the focus and then you can pick which one you want to focus on. All right, so that's always up there, so that if you want to pick which one you want to focus on wherever you're doing something in the app, that's all you do. All right, so now we're gonna go to the little car. The car is how I set up my turn signals. Now my DRLs are where my turn signals are set up at. So what you have is my turn signals turn green and they do a wave when my turn signals are actually on and activated. So you can go through a bunch of different things to whatever you want. I don't need to actually show all of them. Just know that when you play with the app, this is where you mess with your turn signals right here. So the color, you can change your color to whatever you want, the speed that it actually does the wave, and the size of the actual wave. So that is where you do that. Right here at the park lights, this is where you select what color you want to come up with your park lights. So you can select 2 different colors, or you can set them both to 1, and you can have your park lights be a certain color. Now, I like for mine to still be legal when I crank up, so they're set to orange. Both my my left and right turn signal will set up for orange when I start the car, and they will turn orange. From here, I do not have a brake signal. I don't have that app hooked up, but eventually one day I will actually do my brakes. But that's where you would mess with your brakes if you had that input signal for your brakes, and then you could tell it what color you want it to be. Now, here is where you get your bread and butter. All right, so you see I have a left side and I had it set to 90. Now, generally with the DRLs on chargers and with every different light, there's a different amount of LEDs, but with the chargers, it's generally about 60. But I have what's in my snorkel up there hooked to my headlights, and also, let's see if you can see, this one is hooked to my headlights right here. So that's why mine is set to 90 LEDs. So with that being said, right here is where, oh, I got it offset a little bit. That's why I was doing that. Okay, so right here you have it set to strip, and you do your left and your right turn signal and everything here. So this is where I was saying, like, your DRL, that one with the little park light, that's where your DRLs get set to. So as you can see, I have my left side set to 1 and I have my right side set to 1. So that's what it's basically saying when I want my lights to both cut on the same side, the same color. So if I did it 1 and 2, I can make my left side turn on one color, I can make my right side turn on a different color. And that's where you're in the car setting, and you can do this left and right side. So at the blocks, right now it's saying like, hey, you have power at these things. Well, not that you have power at these things, but this is what you have selected for these things. So these are my current settings right here. And this is also in the app where I was saying like, hey, if you hook it to the wrong wire, to the wrong side, I can tell my left side like, hey, when my left turn signal cuts on, I want my left one to cut on. So you can tell I hooked my wires up backwards when I did it. So only thing I did right here is I told the left side when the right turn signal cuts on, turn my left turn signal on. And when the right side cuts on, turn my right turn signal, my left turn signal on. When my left turn signal gets a signal, goodness, turn my right turn signal on. So they're hooked up backwards, but in the app you can just change that, so you don't have to go back and rewire anything. And then I have which I believe is the party function, is where all your lights light up. And then I can't remember what this one is, but I always have them both selected and all my lights work. I know if I turn one of them off, I think it's that party signal, the lights won't work, but I'm not exactly for sure in what this is. So with this offset and direction. All right guys, I'm back. Sorry, had to relocate. My battery died on my GoPro, so we had to relocate, but now I am back. So the last thing I was telling you about was the offset and the directional. So with that, you can turn a function on. Let's see, a function that literally, let's see, where's my, not light show. All right, so you see that lightning bolt, you see how it's going through and it's coming from one side and it goes to the other. So I can change the direction of how I want that to flow in the light with this directional. So with this, I can offset. I can tell the left side that I want it to be offset in the direction and the offset. So I could change this completely to the other side and affect my light completely different. So you just have to, mess with it and allow it like different. It'll let you do different settings. Like, I don't ever mess with this. I have them both set to the same so that my Ghozt controller will do exactly what I told it to do when it's time for it to do it. I don't really mess with the direction and the offset at all. But that's how you reverse the incoming. Like if I wanted my lights to flow, if they were flowing from this way, but I really wanted my turn signals to flow from that way, I can change the direction of the actual headlight. So I could tell it, instead of flowing how it's doing going that way, I can make it do the opposite. I can tell it to start in the middle and go out. Like, that's what the offset, and like the offset basically is like telling it where to start. I can tell it to do it at like 90% of the lights, at you know, at the 50%. You know, there's different ways that you can set this thing up with the offset and the directions. I don't really mess with it too much, so if I you just have to play with it if you want your lights to do it, different things, but that's basically the premise. Now with this, I'm not going to change it because I have all of mine on strips, and I know if I change it to something else, I'm not I know I had not messed them up, but they weren't flowing the same because I had it selected to halo one time, and I don't even remember what the matrix is. But like, I have them set on strips, and that's generally what everything is set to strips. So that's one of the things that I can't really explain in detail too much, but like, that's what's happening when you yeah, I mean, that's basically the one part that I can't explain to you what's happening when you do this. I just have mine set to strip. Now with the left side, you could set your lights. This is why they say it's indefinite using the Ghozt controller, because I can tell my lights to section off. So I could be like, you know what, these first such and such LEDs, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna actually turn it to, let's turn it to red. One, I just like red. And then we're gonna go back to the left side, and we're gonna start turning the LEDs down. Now if you see up there, that's one of my strips that I have used to my LED. So you see it going away, and then let's see when I get back to the other one, because, oh, there it is. It's taking them away right there, right? So because you're in the Y connectors, you see how up there it's taking away, and it's taking the top and the bottom away, and then it's also taking those halos away. It's because they're not hooked up in a straight line. If it was just one straight line, you'd be able to section these halos off in sections. Like I could, but I could section it off to the point where the top and the bottom, I could sell it to stop here, and I could add another strip on the left side. I could add one, and then I could tell it to flow a different direction and everything on that line. So that's what you're doing, where you can add. So you can basically break these things up into different sections and make them do different things. So I could tell it, I want it to flow here, left, like this, but then I could add that one back, and I could tell it from that LED, I want it to flow the opposite way. So I could tell my lights, when the flow series is on, this would flow this way, and then I could tell it, if I set the next couple lights up, I could tell it, you know what, I want it to flow the opposite way. So my lights would flow opposite from one another right there. And you can make your lights do all type of crazy things. That's the difference in the directional and setting up adding different things on your left or right side. So I had mine set to 90 because I have that strip up there that's in the hood going through my snorkel, all the way illuminated. So as you can see, as I add LEDs, they fill up one by one. And when I get to 60, my actual headlight should be all the way installed. So 53, 55, blah, 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 58, 60, that last LED in the back went all the way up, right? But see, I'm still not completely lit back up here. That's the reason why mine are set so high, all the way to 90. So I have to go, it's going all the way through, and then boom, it's on the other side. And at 90 is where I am completely all the way through for my snorkels, and my headlight is all the way up. So that's the setting for your offset and directional. So I mean, you can do endless things with these lights. So let's see, we went through the directional offset, lighting these up. All right, so here, these are where they're basically an on-off switch. Now, I don't use these. This is what you get in the Pro, where you have your other set of connections that you get in the Pro, that they're still live, like they're hot in the on the light. You just don't have the connector there. So technically, if you wanted to solder your wire in there, you could buy a light and solder that wire in and use a Pro. So this is basically just sending you power to it. And say it was just like an on and off switch, like you had a demon eye that you just like, all right, when I cut my car on, I want this light to cut on. You could put it in, power it from input 1, and you could actually tell these to set up on the home screen. So I put it here, go to the home screen, boom, there it is. And you could just tell it to cut on, and you could set it to what you wanted it to be, whether you wanted it just to be an on and off, whether you wanted to strobe trigger, like all this different stuff right here. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not exactly for sure what the PWM is, so I can't go completely into depth about all of that. I'm sorry. I'm just a simple user of this thing, and I get information from different people that install these. So I'm sorry that I don't know all the actual settings in this. I'm sure on Ghost Lighting they go over this briefly, but you can look at theirs to bounce off any information that you want to know more in depth on this setting right here. But I do know that these are basic triggers, so I could set my demon eyes, which I have in there, to cut on with this. So I could use this app to power my demon eyes, and they could cut on every time when I cut this on. So that's one of the good functions about it. Now here is where you rename your controllers, and I love to name my controllers, that way I don't get confused when I'm hooking them up, because it'll recognize them and you'll be able to just see, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to. And then you can change your focus, and so you can rename them there. I'm not actually for sure what that is, to be honest. I don't touch it. It's always been on that no matter what. Now this, the LED type, this is where you need to know if you have RGB or RGBW. RGBW is basically just the red, blue, green, and white. It has its own chip. From those colors you can make any color, and then from red, blue, and green you can make is RGB. You can make any color from those, but all of them have to illuminate on RGB to make white. So when you have an RGB set, you're illuminating all your lights to make that white color. But with the RGBW, you have an actual white LED dedicated to making its own white. So that's why in RGBW, you get a crystal clear white versus RGB, where everything is on to make a white. Now, I have my white setting in here. I have it turned down, like it's not all the way turned up. So that's just what I have for it. For me, you can turn them down. I have mine turned down just a little bit. So because the fact that all of the LEDs are on at the same time to try to make the white color, that's what I just feel like that burns out your lights a lot quicker. So I think they're making more RGBW now than they are making RGB. Like I have the old set, so remember I was telling you how you could recognize yours. So here, I don't know how well y'all can see here, but this is RGB, and you can tell because it doesn't have the yellow side. That it has a yellow, like for you, if you're looking at your lights, if you have all white, you're RGB, and if you have a little yellow one over here as well, you are RGBW. That's the difference in how you can tell whether you got RGB or RGBW. So that will save you a lot of headache knowing that information alone right there about your lights. And the reason why I say that is because when you're in this setting, you need to know whether you have RGB or RGBW, because you can't mix them. So since I have RGB, I have to have all RGB stuff on that same Ghozt controller. My Flow series that are on a different underglow, like my like if I had something else that was going to be RGBW, I would have to go into the settings and change it down here. Now you see how I got GRB. Basically, when I tell it to be green, it should be green. So with that settings, if I go and this was changed and I had it here, if I told it, like you see how I guess connected to my underglow changed, and it says green on here but it's red, and I go to red but it's green, I go to blue. No, blue was correct. But you see how it's off? That is the that's all in the settings right here. So this is basically saying like which signal you're supposed to have. So generally, if your settings are off, this is where you want to go. Like if all your lights are working but you tell it to be red and it's blue, this is where you want to go. And the same thing for if you have RGBW, like this is where you go to your settings and you get them synced up to the correct one, so that when you hit green, it's green, when you hit red, it's red. If you try to use a Flow series like RGBW on here, it will send the wrong signal to your light. So I'm not going to click on one of those because it'll do that little it'll basically be like polka dot. It'll be red, blue, green, like it'll be a bunch of like sporadic colors going through your entire thing. And that's basically saying like, hey, you have the wrong thing selected in your settings for what you actually have. So you have it selected for RGBW when you have an RGB setting, or you have RGBW when you have RGB. Like they're the opposite. So just know, look at your lights, be able to tell which one you have. Then lastly, we have the actual Bluetooth right here. If you accidentally walk away from the car or something down the line, I get a far enough distance, they will disconnect, right? So I can change my lights, change my lights. All right, so you see how I just changed to orange, but the underglow is a different color. I'm basically disconnected from there. Oh no, I'm still connected. Let's go red. Yep, see my underglow is still set to the wrong setting. So let's see, we're red on the underglow. All right, so the DRLs, not there, done. Let's go. Okay, there it is. So you see I don't have that module at the top that I showed you earlier to connect them. So I go to my Bluetooth and I'm like, all right, reconnect. It's gonna do a little loading signal, tell me to pair, it's gonna try to read it, find it, and then I go back, tell it to go red. So I was too far away. Now let's go back to the settings. All right, so that's the them. That's not what I want. Done. There we go. Focus. Go to underglow. And then GRB. See how I had it on the wrong one, and then as soon as I went back, it's on the correct one. So I was telling it. And this is how you just check it. You go back through and you basically click on red, blue, and green. As long as red, blue, and green are turning red, blue, and green when you do it, you're in the right color scheme. All right. So that is basically everything with your with the Ghozt controller app, man. That is basically everything that I got to show you with this app. Give me 1 second.